So look, on my poster, I included the 4 things we talked about yesterday. So what were those things? Do you remember? Characters, setting, problem, and the solution. Good. But there's something we didn't talk about yesterday, which is the order of events. Do you guys remember that from your sequencing lessons that you had? The sequence of events, yeah?
Flowchart?
Yeah, the flow chart, right, exactly right. So when we talk about the order of events in a book, we are going to talk about the beginning of the story, which is when the story starts, what happens at the beginning. We're going to talk about the middle of the story, which would be the next thing on our flow chart, which is what happens in the middle of the story. And then we're going to talk about what happens at the very end of the story. Okay?
Okay.
And so that's our order of events, or our sequence of events. So when we retell a story, this says when the teacher, that's me, asks you to retell, you have to remember to include all these 5 things. So what are the 5? Characters, setting, order of events, beginning, middle, and end, the problem, and solution. Okay, so when we retell a story, it's not just about telling our very favorite part of the story. You can't just tell one favorite part. You have to tell all the different parts in the right order so that you can tell that story to someone else and they can pick their favorite part out of the story. Yes, Reese?
Like on our homework, in 2 weeks when we dress up in our favorite book, like Mama's favorite was Pokey Puppy, because that was mine.
Yeah, and so when you, in 2 weeks from now, when you dress up like your favorite character, you're going to tell about your book. And maybe Miss EdTPA will have you retell the story. I don't know. That's really cool, Lewis.
Not Peter. Not Peter.
Okay, so
Hey, Mrs.
if you have a question, raise your hand, please. If you have something to say.
You can't do my own things.
Liam, what do you have to say? Is it a question? Is it a question
Yes.
about what we're doing?
Do you know, what I'm going to be for? I know what.
Liam,
The
does that have to do with what we're talking about right now? No, I'm sorry. We can talk about that later. But right now, who remembers what story we read yesterday? Who remembers, Maya?
The Hungry Caterpillar.
Yeah, the very hungry caterpillar. You're so right. So we read this story yesterday.
Such a big story.
The big story. Good. And today, I'm going to help you guys retell the story. Okay, so who remembers what retelling is? Who remembers? We just talked about it. Austin. Remembering what? Remembering the words. Sort of. Maya, can you help them out? What's retelling?
Remembering the whole part of the book and character.
Yeah, the whole part of the characters. Peyton, you want to help? Characters, setting, problem, solution, and putting them in the correct order. Exactly. Good. So we're going to do that with the very hungry caterpillar. Liam, can you please sit up? Sit crisscross applesauce. Okay. So what's the first thing that we have to know in order to retell a story? Anna Claire.
We have to know the book.
You have to know the book. That's true. But what's the first key detail that we have to know? Let's look at our chart.
Characters.
We have to know the characters. Good. So let's draw who our character was. What was our character from the very hungry caterpillar?
The caterpillar.
Yeah, good. All right.
And the butterfly.
Well, they're the same character. Let's draw a little caterpillar. He's happy. Okay, so there's our character. What's the next thing? Gordon, what's the next thing? What's the next key detail that we have to remember with our chart?
He has a wreck the setting.
The setting. Alright, so where did our character live? Where was the setting of our story?
In the leaf. And a crystal.
Harper, what was the setting of our story from yesterday? Where did the caterpillar live? Remember, did he live in the ocean? No. Did he live in the ceiling? No. Did he live in a bush? No. Austin, where did he live?
In a leaf.
In a leaf. Or on a leaf, really. Good. So we're going to draw a
He
leaf.
lived in an egg. No.
There's our little leaf.
That's a good leaf.
Thank you. Alright. Good. So there's our leaf. So we have our character, we have our setting. What's another thing that we need? Reese, what's another one of our things that we need to talk about? What's that?
A problem.
A problem. Good. So what was one of our problems in our story? Raise your
was
hand. Raise your
hungry.
hand and tell me. Jackson, what was one of our problems in our story?
He ate too much.
He ate too much. What was the first problem we talked about, though? The main problem. Do you remember? That was one of the problems, but I'm going to go with a different one. Peyton. He was really hungry. Yeah, it's in the title of the book. Very hungry caterpillar. Good. So it's kind of hard to draw a picture of a hungry caterpillar, but we're going to make it work. We're just going to make him really skinny. He's a really skinny little caterpillar.
I'm a really skinny one.
He's really hungry, and so he's kind of sad because he's hungry. See? He has a little sad face. Good. So that was our problem, that our caterpillar was so hungry. Now, what was our solution to our problem? Lewis, what was the solution to him being really hungry?
I'm really hungry right now too. And me too. Me too.
I'm asking Lewis. Lewis, what was the solution in our story yesterday? He ate food. Yeah. So that was our solution. Our little caterpillar friend ate a bunch of food. So I'm going to draw some of the food he ate. Who can remember some of the foods that he ate?
Strawberry.
A strawberry. Did he eat a plum?
He ate a cake.
He ate a plum. He ate a cake. He ate
And a watermelon.
He ate a
He ate a
strawberry.
lollipop. And a watermelon.
Watermelon.
Lollipop.
Yeah. So we're just going to draw some foods. Here's a cake.
What about some watermelon?
He ate sausage. Yeah, you guys are remembering all the foods he ate. Good.
And watermelon. He ate an ice cream cone.
Watermelon.
Ice cream cone.
Strawberry.
We're forgetting to color it in.
That's okay. We're just going to do an outline for now.
Ice cream cone.
Good.
Popsicle.
Alright, we're just going to draw some of the foods.
He didn't eat
Good. So what do we have here? We have our character, where he lived, which is he's really hungry, our problem, and he ate a bunch of food, which is our solution. Good.
We forgot the order of events.
We forgot our order of events, Jackson. You're so right. So how are we going to talk about our order of events? What do we have to think about? What do we have to think about? What did I say that you have to start with?
Beginning.
The beginning of the story. So what happened in the beginning of our story?
Beginning. Okay.
Alright, so what happened in the beginning of our story? Somebody raise their hand and tell me. Anybody other than Anna Claire? Anna Claire raised their hand all the time. Come on. Anybody tell me what happens in the beginning of our story yesterday? Harper.
Not me.
What happened? You remember? Maybe to take a peek? What happened in the beginning of our story?
There was an egg.
There was an egg and a
Son.
little caterpillar, yeah? So the caterpillar just was there. He existed. He was pretty hungry, but he was just a little caterpillar. That was what happened in our beginning. Good. So I'm going to draw.
Is it time to go to lunch yet?
Nope, not yet.
Where are you going?
I'm going to make a little box. All right.
That's
So this is the beginning, the middle, and the end. So what happened in the beginning? What happened in the beginning, Maya? What happened in the beginning of our story? Remember we just looked at it? Who? Who was really hungry? Yeah, we had a little caterpillar, yeah? And was he sitting on anything?
An egg.
What was the egg sitting on?
A leaf.
A leaf. You're so right. Okay, so there's our leaf.
Or the egg.
And we're just gonna draw the caterpillar. We're gonna leave out the egg. And our caterpillar.
Tiny caterpillar?
Yeah,
Oh,
just a little
that's
caterpillar.
cute. Yeah, he's
So
cute.
already in the very beginning of our story.
Are you gonna write a P at the top?
Yeah, I am. Already at the beginning of our story, we have two of our things. What have we already talked about? Two of our main details. Which two?
Beginning.
Which two have we talked about? We talked about the caterpillar and the leaf. Which of these two are they? Yeah?
The setting.
The setting and
Character.
Gordon?
The
The characters. Yeah, good. So already we've talked about the setting and the characters. And that's just the beginning. Now, what happens next in our story? What's the middle of our story? The middle. Liam.
I'm gonna take a peek.
You take a peek? Let's take a peek. All right. So, in the beginning, there's a little caterpillar. He's very hungry. What happens in the middle?
He ate.
He eats a bunch of food. Yeah, that's exactly what happens in the middle. He eats all
Whoa.
this food. Wow. All right, so in the middle, where is he still? Is he still on the leaf?
No. No.
He's not?
He's on the grass.
I think he's still on the leaf.
He's on the dirt. He's on the egg.
I think he still lives on the leaf. I think the setting is the same the whole time in this story. All right, but he's down on the leaf, and he's eating a bunch of food.
No, I've watched the Very Hungry Caterpillar, and he doesn't stay on the leaf the whole time.
But that might be a different
What?
one. This is the story, and that was a video. All right, so what does he eat again? Let's talk
Oh
about it.
yeah, that was just strawberries.
He eats a strawberry. He eats a plum.
Episodes.
He eats a strawberry.
He eats a watermelon.
That's a strawberry.
Watermelon and pizza.
A watermelon.
Not pizza.
He eats a pizza. This is a pizza.
What? Did he
With
really
pepperoni.
eat pizza?
And he ate
Sausage.
a sausage.
He ate some ice cream cone
There's
Ice
our
cream.
sausage.
and ice cream.
Oh, ice cream cone.
And
Ice
just
cream.
ice cream. It was a
Ice cream
pink
on
ice
top.
cream.
Okay. So we ate a bunch of food. And what part of our story was that? The
Middle.
middle. Good.
That's a lot.
So then we have to ask ourselves the question, what happened next?
But he went in his cocoon.
He went in his cocoon.
He cocooned.
So is that also part of the middle?
Cocoon.
You make that part of the middle. Or do you want to move on to the end? He went in his cocoon, Elizabeth Grace?
He turned into a butterfly.
Yeah, he went into his cocoon and turned into a butterfly. And so we can ask ourselves, what happened last, right?
He turned into a butterfly.